Hello everyone, and in this lesson we're going to take a look at vellum based hair growth. So this is what the final result should be. The one thing that this tutorial does not cover is we're not going to do anything like a constant emission. Okay, this is a fixed emission with a fixed number of points. So we're not doing anything like how to constantly add something into a vellum simulation because I have no idea how to do that. Okay, so just to start with, I'm going to just pick up my base geometry. Okay, and I'll press Ctrl V. Okay, so what I have is very simple. I have the test pig head, and I gave it some subdivision. Let me just get rid of this. Yeah, okay. And I made a group. Okay, so I want the hair to sort of grow from here. Okay, so to put this very simply, right, like I can take a line, or let's do one thing. Let's create like a small hairstyle for this. Okay, so I'm going to take a hair generate and we'll just plug in the hair, and I want to select the group called hair, and I'll give it some length. So this should be about 1. Okay, so we have it about that long and with about 16 segments. Okay, now take a guide groom and we want to plug in the guide and the skin, and I don't want so many. Let me just reduce that to about 600. Okay, so I'll just take a sculpt and we'll just sculpt this a little bit like this. I want here, and then I want some of it to go back. Okay, and then we can take sculpt with physics and just have the whole thing drop. So yeah, I think this is good. And then we can take sculpt and just, shape it up a bit more. Yeah, okay, that's not bad. Okay, now what I can do is, because you're getting some intersections in here, like it is penetrating the geometry. So what you can do is you can take a guide collide VDB. Okay, and the first thing we'll do is we'll turn this into a closed mesh because this is open. So I'll take a polycap, close this, and we'll convert it into a VDB. So we'll do VDB from polygons, and I'll make it 0.02. And so this will get the guides and the skin and the VDB. Okay, and what we can do with this is I can start to just do a surface offset, so it kind of, it doesn't intersect the geometry anymore. Like if you look at this now, see, it kind of pushes away, and then I can just take a smooth and I can just, smoothen this out a bit. Okay, so this is fine, and now I can use this to generate a hairstyle. Okay, so I can take another hair generate. Okay, so we'll take a hair generate, and again I'll just put in the skin here and the guides there, and I'll pick up hair, and there you go. Okay, so this is fine. What you can do is you can come to the object level, come into miscellaneous and turn on shade open curve, so you'll get to see the hair. Okay, I can press D and just give it some anti-aliasing. And we can sort of let's make it about 4000. The more you increase, the longer it's going to take to simulate. So you have to be careful about that. We'll give it a little more thickness. And then take a group expression and we'll create pins for this because we want to pin the roots. Okay, so just call this roots and set this to points. And just pick up first point of primitive. So there you go. Okay, so these will be our roots. So now take a hair configure, and within the hair we should be able to just pick up the pins. So there you go. So you have pin to points. We'll pick up roots, and you can turn on match animation if you want to, if it's animated. And then we can do a vellum solver, and we also want the skin for collision. I think I can pick up this. I think that's collision. So let me just press play and see what I'm getting. Let me just give it some color as well. So I can just make it red. Okay, and let's merge these together. So if I press play, I should just get like a basic simulation, which is fine. Okay, now what we want to do is I want this to basically grow over time. Okay, now the simplest way to do this is you animate the rest length. Okay, so if I come in here inside the Vellum solver and type in Vellum, and you'll get something called Vellum constraint properties. Now what you want to do is come into the Vellum hair constraint, and you will have a group called stretch. Yeah, there you go. So there's a group called stretch. I'll just rename that to hair. So just easier to find, because what happens is that if you have multiple constraints, they're all going to be called stretch. So you can rename it. Okay. So just come in here, we'll pick up this, I'll plug it in, and group, and I'll pick up hair. Okay. And what you want to do is you want to animate the rest length. Okay. So if I take this and I make it 0.2, and if I press play, you'll get this. See, it'll just shrink. So the problem that happens with this is that it is sort of hitting the geometry as it's sort of going in. So what you can do instead is instead of getting it to rest length of a 0 immediately, you do it over time. So what I'll do is I'm going to keep this at 1, and I'll just turn off simulation for now. And let's say I'll come to about 48. So the first 30 or 40 frames is going to be just a setup. Okay, so do an alt click here, and then by about 50 it will go down to 0. Okay, and then I can just do alt click at say around 70 or 80, and then by about 120 it will go back to 1. Okay, but what I'll do before that is, in order to make sure that it doesn't collide with the geometry, I'm going to take the Vellum solver as well, and we're going to animate the gravity. Okay, so let's keep a gravity of +9. Okay, and then we'll do alt click, we'll keep it there. Okay, all the way till like the hair doesn't start to grow, and then over time it will fall down, so it will come down to -9. Okay, so in the beginning all the hair will sort of go up. So the advantage of that is that it won't collide with the geometry, so you won't get any weird sort of distortions to it. And then it will shrink, and when it grows, then the hair will sort of fall down. Okay, so if you check this and press, so what you'll get in the beginning is, see, everything sort of goes up. Okay. Yeah, I think we still have some hair intersections happening. And then it will, yeah, I think we should, but there you go. See, now it's shrinking. So it doesn't shrink down to 0, like it doesn't disappear. So this is what you get overall. Like it goes up, and then it shrinks in, and then when it grows back up, then it sort of falls down, okay, forming the hairstyle. So you can sort of stretch out the gravity coming back over time. Okay. Now what we can also do is, I think we'll have to push it a bit more. Okay, like do one thing, take the guide collide after the hair generate. Like this hair generate, take the guide collide after that. Or you can take like 2 of them, that's also fine. Because what's happening is that we're still getting like weird intersections. So, plug this in here. Yeah, and then let's plug that in. Because the guide collide is important, because you will get some intersections with the skin. So that will ensure that, you don't have any kind of intersections happening. Like I can just come in here and see, you can like push it a bit more. Yeah. So this will ensure that, like you're not getting any kind of intersections with the skin. So if you press play now, yeah, see, nothing is intersecting. That's perfect. So what you can do is we can come in here and we can just animate it a bit more. Maybe they should start a little early. Yeah, I think that will be okay. Yeah, so it goes up. Yeah, let's do one thing. Let's push this a little further. Yeah, so just adjust the, the gravity animation to make sure that, it kind of comes, when it starts to come in, the gravity is already a little bit lower. So the hair won't sort of just fly up, all of them, like they'll kind of try to fall in place. There you go. You can also work with the bend stiffness and things like that to make sure that it's a little bit better. We can also adjust maybe a little bit of, velocity damping. So I'll keep that a little high. I'll also come into the, you can come into the vellum hair and you can start to, you can play with the bend stiffness. So I'll just increase the stiffness up to around 3 or 4. Let's increase up to 4. Yeah, that looks nice. When it falls down, it sort of more or less falls back into whatever our original, hairstyle was. There you go. Okay, so now that this much is done, the big question is like, how do you make it look like it's growing? Because the hair are still there, right? So what you want to do is take a measure. Okay, so take a measure and we're going to measure the hair length. So just come in here and we can measure the perimeter length. At primitive level is also fine. And if we turn on the geometry spreadsheet, so keep it to primitives. There you go. So you have the perimeter length. So what we want is when it gets really tiny, so less than 0.1, okay, is when we want to delete it. So take a group expression and we're going to select all the points or all the curves less than, so let's call them small, and we'll say at perimeter less than 0.2. See, so all of these are selected. So when they grow up, see, you'll notice that they come out of the groups. Okay, so just take a blast and we're going to delete everything called small. So just come in here and delete small. So what will happen is, see, you'll get to see, so they kind of show up over there. And if you merge it with this, it will give you a better result. So if we start our animation at around frame 24, you will get this. See. Okay, so now we have to do the final thing, which is how to make it grow over time. Okay, so this is, I'm going to use the exact same technique I had used in my, there's a tutorial I did called pressure and attribute. So there is a code in there which I don't understand entirely. I'm going to basically just copy paste it. You can just, what we're going to do is we're going to put some attributes on this, and then we're going to use that attribute to control our rest length. So what we'll do here is, after we've generated this, I'm going to take a mask from geometry and we're going to create a sphere, and this sphere is what is going to generate our mask. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. I'll just make it big. Yeah. So what we want is that in the beginning, because everything has to sort of, we want to maintain the rest length. Like we won't do keyframing now. So it's going to remain big in the beginning. Okay. Till about, what was the animation here? So till about frame 24, it remains big. So around till frame 15 or 16, it needs that much time to become small. Okay. And then we will animate it. So we come in here and I'll take this, I'll do alt click on the center. So till this point it is fixed. Okay. And then at around here it goes out. So it'll shrink to 0. And then it'll come back in. Like let's keep this, and then by around 90 it'll come back in. Yeah, so what you should get is, see this. Yeah, it goes out. I think I will have to adjust the, yeah. So it goes back, it goes out, becomes small. Maybe move it out a bit more. And then it comes back in. Okay. So the attribute that we've generated is called mask. Okay, and that's the one we're going to use. So take a null here and we'll just call it out mask. So let's just check what frame we are coming in. Yeah, and just come into the Vellum solver and I'm going to push the gravity sort of like, going in till there. Because it has to shrink. Okay, and then when it's growing up is when it should, when the gravity should start coming in. So maybe at around, Okay, so what we do is come in here and I'll create a new Vellum constraint properties. We'll do the same thing. I'll pick up hair, turn on rest length scale, and the only thing we need to do is come into input to input 3 and pick up the SOP. What had we called it? Out mask. Okay. So we're going to come in here and we're going to pick up out mask. Yeah. And I'm going to just copy paste the code. So turn on use vex expression. So what we want to do is we want the attributes to affect the rest length scale. But the problem is that our attribute is currently on point level and the rest length scale is affecting primitives. So we need to pick up one point from our primitives, use the attribute value on that point, which will affect the entire primitive. So let me just bring up the code here. So this is basically what the code is. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward, right? Like what we're doing is from all the primitives, we are just picking up point number 0. Okay, so this is, and then onto that point number 0, we are bringing in the mask, okay, from the second input, because that's the input that we have specified here. See, this is input number, this is like 0, 1, 2, so this is 2, it's not 3. And so we've generated a float called amount, and that will affect the rest scale. The rest scale is what this is called. Like if you click here, see, it shows the parameter name is rest scale. Okay, so the rest scale will be affected by amount. You can just pause it at this frame and just write down this exact thing. Okay, because it should just work. Okay, so if I press play now, hold on, yeah, turn on simulation again, and so it'll go up, and yeah, there you go. See, it starts to shrink. Maybe we needed to do it a little before. Yeah, so let's go here. Okay, yeah, so press play and okay, so it goes up and then it starts to shrink. See, so now it's happening in a more organized fashion, and as it becomes small, the blast will just delete everything. So there you go, so everything is gone. Okay, and then what frame do we come in? We just have to wait till what frame it comes in. Yeah, there you go. See, so now everything starts to grow. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess. Yeah, we just have to make sure let's just keep the gravity till there. So yeah, then it's just a matter of tweaking it. The code that I put in, I picked up from like a Houdini Vellum's masterclass. As I said, like that's what it's doing. It's picking up one point from the primitive, and then it's taking the attribute value from our out mask and then applying that to the whole primitive. Yeah, it's taking a fair, maybe I should adjust the animation, but yeah, there you go. Sort of gently drops in now. Yeah, not bad. I mean, the hairstyle is more or less in place. So it will shrink in. So you can start your animation at around frame 30 or something. Yeah, there you go. So the only rule here, as I said, is that this is a fixed point count. Okay, like you're not going to increase or decrease the number of points over time from a Vellum simulation because it won't work otherwise. So yeah, so if you want, you can increase the number of hair. It'll take longer to simulate, but it'll work. Okay. But there you go. Like, this is how you can, and you can do this for anything. It's not just for hair growth, but if you want to do like grass growing over time or plants growing over time, and you want gravity to affect it or wind to affect it, you can do all of those things with it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You can do hair growth.